Now, our next topic involves something I never even heard about, is the proper and correct use of ibuprofen to recover from slight injuries.
That opens up a really good topic for discussion. Injuries. Number one, recognize whether you have an injury that is something that a doctor needs to see, or is it a home remedy? And are you willing to make that decision on your own? Those are questions that you really need to go over in your own mind. Do you have the intelligence, the education to recognize the difference between a slight muscle tear or the possibility of a tendon that may be coming loose at the muscle itself? If that is the latter is the case, you could be setting yourself up for a year off, because it's going to take that long. It's the old principle of, if I were to be injured,
here's a good one right here,
and I had a muscle tear, say in my bicep, tricep, quad, whatever, a muscle tear looks like this, okay? If that muscle tear is left untreated and it doesn't heal, and I come back to the gym and I think, that doesn't feel so bad. I think I'm going to try and do some more of those again today. Okay, so you're doing it fine. Everything's going just right. And then all of a sudden, oops, it's tore a little bit more now. Okay, so you think, oh, all right, I'll give it a couple weeks this time. I'm not going to bother. I'm just going to let it rest. I don't want to go get surgery or anything like that. So I'm just going to let that thing rest. Okay. So you go back to the gym and you start doing things again. You start going after that muscle group and you start training and everything's fine until all of a sudden, oh no. Okay, what you forgot to realize was this. You were already injured from here to here, and then you were injured from there to there because you didn't listen to yourself to heal before you came back to start training heavy again. Because this was already weak to there, it allowed that much to go on the third injury. Okay, now understanding, we're not ripped through yet, but we're getting close. So, okay, so I'm going to rest for 3 weeks now. Okay, so you take your 3 weeks of rest. That's not enough to heal this thing, but you think it's starting to feel pretty good, so you want to test it pretty good. So, yeah, that feels pretty good. I'm able to lose a little bit of weight. I think I'll go heavy today. Okay, you go heavy today. Now you got surgery. There's the only way to fix this now is surgery. So what you need to do is understand that you need to recognize that you have the ability to injure yourself while you're training. Understand that you are vulnerable to your own ambition. And what you need to do is govern that ambition by limiting how much weight you use, keep your form right, keep everything the way it should be in accordance to being able to continue. That's the goal. It's not what can I do today, one time in my life. It's what can I do with the rest of my life.
Over 50 years.
Over 50 years or longer.
Yeah.
So, but that's how you want to view things. Now, if you do get a little injury, what do? Well, okay. First, rest. There's a formula that I think it was rice originally, but it's rest, ice, and compression, and whatever else. I can't remember but it's an old formula that was a word, but we used to use that. And forgive me, but I don't remember all of it. But number one is, and if you look in the freezer that I have here in the gym, there is an ice pack in there. Okay, it's either a frozen thing of corn or peas or a regular ice pack. If I feel a little rip or a little tear somewhere, I go immediately and get my ice. Mm-hmm. That's the first thing you want to do to reduce the amount of inflammation that's going to build up around that injury. The second thing you want to do is rest. Don't test it. Just, if you were going down into a squat position and you feel rip, and then you think, oh, wow, I must have hurt something. No, stupid, you didn't hurt something. You probably really hurt something, and it's really dumb to go out and try to see if you actually did that or not. You already know when you felt the first pain that you were injured. Don't go test it now. Don't be stupid enough to go out there and, well, let me see how much weight I can put on it. You know, that's the wrong thing to do. Totally rest it. Understand that you have actually injured yourself. Ibuprofen. Well, it's a wonderful product as long as you don't abuse it and understand just how powerful it can be. Ibuprofen is an anti-inflammatory. What that means is that it is a product designed to reduce the amount of inflammation at the site of an injury. If you do something in your elbow, okay, the first thing you're going to want to do is ice it down. That's going to reduce inflammation, and because it's going to stop blood flow. The blood flow is going to send in all these inflammatories that's going to create pain. That's what the human body is designed to do. That's so you won't use that. The human body is designed to make an injury painful so that you won't use it so it can heal. And you won't end up with one of these. You'll end up with a healed body part. So that's why we have pain at the site of an injury, and inflammation is part of that. So, but what science has discovered is that if you were able to fool the body by leading the body to believe that the inflammation is not necessary, then healing can start faster. The body is going to immobilize the body part that has been injured as quickly as it can. It's going to do that with pain, and it's going to do that by forcing fluids and so forth into that injury in order, and inflammatories in there to make it painful to move. So where ibuprofen comes in is it is an anti-inflammatory. So if you ingest ibuprofen into the body, it goes through the system, it ends up at the site of the injury, and it starts to pull some of this inflammatory out of there. Now, two very important things need to be understood. Inflammation is the result of injury. Healing can't happen as long as it's inflamed. So you need to rest and allow things to return to normal before healing can ever happen. Most people won't do that. They'll think, oh, it's kind of sore, but I can kind of deal with it. Well, look, guy, this thing is still inflamed or it wouldn't be sore. It can't heal until all the inflammation's gone. The body will not send in all the nutrients that are necessary to create healing until the inflammation situation has been taken care of. So what we want to do is we want to sensibly and in a good fashion use an anti-inflammatory. They come in 200, 100 milligram, 200 milligram, 300, 400, up to 800 milligram tabs. Now, realistically, the body can only manage with manageability, and you can only utilize and manage so much of anything at one time. This is a very powerful chemical. The body's only able to break down about 600 milligrams every 4 to 6 hours. So if you're taking an abundance, it's kind of a 200 milligram insurance policy that you have enough. But anything above 600 milligrams at one time is probably a little heavy. But the secret behind using anti-inflammatories, ibuprofen, is to use them in a cycle. In order to knock that inflammation out, you need to take a lot of it. You need to take it regularly. You need to read the label first and understand what that product does. And then you need to look at, okay, they recommend that I take this every 4 to 6 hours. Okay. So I'm saying take 600 to 800 milligrams every 4 to 6 hours on a regular basis around the clock. And I don't care if you have to set the alarm to wake yourself up in the middle of the night. But if you do that to take ibuprofen, do not fail to eat. If you don't eat food with ibuprofen, it'll eat your stomach lining up. So again, you want to cycle this stuff. You want to recognize you have an injury and you have a need for ibuprofen. If you're taking ibuprofen, you need to eat with it in order to keep from having stomach issues. If you don't, you're going to be back to the doctor for 2 problems. You're going to be back for the original injury, and you're going to be back now because you've got a stomach issue. So what you want to do is take ibuprofen in a cycle. Take it 4 to 5 days in a row. That's it. 4 or 5 days in a row, but you're going to take it around the clock. You are going to saturate your body, carpet bomb your body with ibuprofen. It has to be taken right around the clock. Knock that inflammation out. Let that healing begin.
And then rest.
And then rest.
Rest.
Let that healing occur. If you don't, you're going to come back into the gym too soon. You're going to make a little rip, and you're going to end up back with a full rip if you don't. So don't let ibuprofen serve as some kind of a disguise to make you think that you are some kind of superhuman now and you've healed quicker than you normally would. Allow 6 to 8 weeks to heal anything. Nothing is going to heal in less time than 6 to 8 weeks. The older you get, the longer this course takes. So in my case, if I get hurt, I'm going to give it probably 2 months. I'm going to take a good 8 weeks, and I'm going to rest that body part, not work it very hard, feel it, understand I'm dealing with an injury, take my ibuprofen when appropriate, but I'm not going to take ibuprofen around the clock. Taking ibuprofen is dangerous in its own because it is a very powerful substance, and if I take it with the consensus that, okay, if I take ibuprofen forever, then I'll never get hurt. No, actually, it'll be just the opposite.
Long-term effects.
You're gonna not benefit from the cycling effect of ibuprofen because long-term wise, like you just mentioned, your body is going to build up an immunity to the how powerful ibuprofen is. So you want to keep it at its best, and in doing that, you want to cycle it. So you want to take 4 to 6. Maybe 4 or 5, maybe 6 weeks of ibuprofen, as long as you are still in pain. Knock that inflammation out. When the pain goes away, so should the ibuprofen. If it doesn't hurt any longer, don't medicate something that doesn't need medication.